Welcome back, guys. Game 2, Newbee.Y versus iG.V Cup Season 5. Newbee.Y with some really impressive Phoenix play from lane, able to take Game 1 in pretty convincing fashion. They do it in sub 30 minutes, but I expected iG.V to have a much easier time in this series. We'll see if they can't pull it out in this one. They've left the Phoenix in the pool, and they're contemplating the first pick.
I'm not really sure if I would say like have an easy time, but at least have an even time, because easy implies you'd expect it to go the other way. At least that's what I'm getting from that. But that was not really a close game. Newbee.Y
Yeah.
very quickly wrested control of that game away from iG.Vitality and then just steamrolled them from there on out. iG.Vitality's draft had a game plan, and I can appreciate that. Night Stalker second pick, not a huge fan of, but ended up making the draft order rather work out pretty well for them. But Newbee.Y, they're looking pretty darn good, and we're going to see a couple powerhouse heroes obviously going to get picked up in this first phase. No Phoenix right now for the Newbee.Y side. Looks like they're going to go on the little more of assertive side this time with the Vengeful Spirit, Nature's Prophet opening. Going to most likely play a very similar draft to what iG.Vitality just played.
Yeah, definitely so, and it's nice to see them switch gears here. Up against the Invoker, they want to be able to contribute to the mid lane, and the Xiao Nature's Prophet is certainly a competent hero-player combination that can be present in that mid lane alongside perhaps one of the roaming supports. So, Vengeful Spirit, not the greatest lane support, but Newbee.Y will have that for facilitating Roshan, helping with the treants, physical damage as well. So, could be really nice for them to have, and the utility is always good. It's also pretty good against the Nature's Prophet, so nice to have for Newbee.Y there, and they'll probably pick up one of the more nomadic supports here after. I wouldn't be all that surprised to see the Night Stalker actually come out for their side this time, but iG.V, they'll go back for, or they'll go for the Witch Doctor that Newbee.Y picked up in the first phase, so probably the first time in the last couple weeks of H-Cup that we've seen Witch Doctor pretty consistently grabbed up in the first phase.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to make the hero Faceless Void a little bit better for iG.Vitality, and I wouldn't be surprised to see them consider that hero either, but they could very easily grab some initiation, try to get in onto Newbee.Y a little bit earlier, single target initiation, and kind of get around it that way. I was going to say that Newbee.Y maybe considering going for a semi type of global strategy, Zeus, Spectre, those types of heroes, but not going to be completely the case at any rate. Gyrocopter, the pick for the Newbee.Y side. I've been seeing a lot of Gyrocopter over the course of Season 5 and H-Cup, and he's been working out pretty darn well. Although I do feel like the hero is still kind of I'm kind of over Gyrocopter nowadays. Just the overall power that he brings to these kind of mid-game oriented timings is just so huge, and there aren't really many heroes that can say that their contributions are going to be quite as large. Like Juggernaut, Sven, I think the other big two, but Gyrocopter just does it a little bit better than everyone else.
Yeah, he takes a while to become a right-click threat, but in the early mid-game, as you mentioned, he's pretty much unparalleled in what he can contribute to a team fight. So it's an understandable pickup, and it's something that, you know, they can TP a Nature's Prophet on top of a Gyrocopter who is a very tough hero to dive. So he always works in tandem well with someone who has global presence like the NP, and they can kind of leave him alone in lane as a self-sufficient laner. They may give Void too much if that's the case, but either way, they're not going to be able to really stymie the farm of Fawn's Gyrocopter. So they can get busy roaming around trying to bring down this Invoker. That's something to note here for iG.V's. Generally, plays the Invoker, even though Fran most often is in that mid lane. So we'll probably see Fran switch over to the safe lane role here. But either way, as you mentioned, that Death Ward Chronosphere tandem is going to be assembled up for iG.V.
Maybe some counterplay here from Newbee.Y. Vengeful Spirit does have quite a few ways of interrupting that combo, or at least saving her buddies. But as you said, Night Stalker now going to take to the field for the Newbee.Y side. Aggressive roamer for sure. And versus Faceless Void specifically, most of the time we see Lion as a secondary support pickup. But Crippling Fear can definitely get the job done as well. If you get the jump on Faceless Void, he will most likely just instantly die. Faceless Void's occasionally grabbing some anti-silence tech, but most of the time they're counting on being the first ones in and not being jumped beforehand. So
Mm.
for Newbee.Y, it's going to be all about that vision. And between Night Stalker and the Wave from the Vengeful Spirit, potentially fanning out those treants as well from the Nature's Prophet, they will have a pretty good shot at getting the jump on Faceless Void. And if you can avoid a Chronosphere against a team that is working with the Faceless Void, then
Yeah.
you have pretty much already won the fight.
Yeah, and speaking of avoiding a Chronosphere, I mean, it feels like the only hero they need to focus on swapping out of that Chronosphere is the Gyrocopter. They lose the Nature's Prophet in the middle of a fight. I mean, you kind of expect to do that at points, but the Night Stalker, he's innately tanky and isn't the most ideal Chronosphere target. The Gyrocopter, if you swap him out with the Venge, he's immediately going to be able to contribute a call down and at least ward away iG.V, if nothing else. iG.Vitality, though, they're going to look to counter up this global strategy in some sense, but it is going to be a Zeus that's probably alongside an Invoker, so it's probably a mid lane Zeus, could be a support, but unlikely. We'd probably see a safe lane Invoker here for that reason, and as I mentioned before, Fran does play the mid lane, but they bring over Yuno to play that Invoker, so he'll be comfortable with the Invoker and his lane in the safe lane in this one if they do put Fran mid. It also, of course, does facilitate some solo kill potential for the Void when he picks up his level 6, contributing in that Thunder God's Wrath as long as the Vengeful Spirit isn't nearby to swap them out of the Chronosphere. Weaver ban is a bit of an interesting one coming out from Newbee.Y. They are a little bit lacking in reliable disable. If he can disjoint the magic missile with a Shikuchi, they have nothing much aside from the Crippling Fear. And generally speaking, Night Stalker gonna need to be able to surprise that Weaver to get the Crippling Fear off.
Said earlier, Newbee.Y going for a very similar draft plan as iG.Vitality in the last game, and well, now it's pretty darn clear that it's like almost carbon copy. Like very few things are different between what Newbee.Y have right now, what iG.Vitality had in the last game. Death Prophet is going to be another good hero for the Vengeful Spirit to swap out. So keeping the Death Prophet Gyrocopter alive is going to be at a premium. Newbee.Y do have a little bit more push power than iG.Vitality did in the last game. IG, though, Zeus and Invoker and Faceless Void, I mean, these are powerful heroes. They definitely can fight in this early phase. Now we have a Juggernaut, another hero that you can add to that list of early game fighters. iG.Vitality's lanes, however, I'm not really sure if they're strong enough to gain a significant lead over Newbee.Y. They'll do fine, but they're not going to crush them. And wow, Fran, Juggernaut, Invoker, and Super on the Zeus. What are your thoughts on support Zeus?
Yeah, I'm not a fan. Not a fan at all. And as soon as the Juggernaut came out, I knew that that was the case because you really can't put Void in that role. Juggernaut in that role is just, I mean, reminiscent of like burning supports Sven. So, I feel like they kind of got pigeonholed to that last pick, and they want to be able to scale a little bit later. They want to delay against what's going to be a very early aggressive lineup from Newbee.Y, but I don't know that this is the pick. I mean, Witch Doctor Juggernaut, it's a fine lane, so you can kind of roam the Zeus around and stack up for him and go for like a 2-0-1 build and just farm the jungle till he gets enough to contribute. But yeah, this hero needs levels desperately to be effective, and yeah, he dishes out a boatload of damage when he does, but not getting designated solo farm is it's gonna be hindering his ability to contribute quite a bit. I understand it in some sense because what was the one thing that this kind of similar lineup from iG.V was able to do in game one? It was that they constantly ganked the Lina in mid lane, and if anything, Zeus is more susceptible to that. But still, Zeus in this support role, it feels like they got cornered into that last pick Juggernaut, and I really am not a huge fan. So we'll see how it fares, but it feels like Newbee, for me at least, have the upper hand.
I think there are very few situations where I like Zeus as a support hero, and you can compare him, I think, probably to someone like a Phoenix. Like both these heroes in the support role, at least, like they only need experience. They don't need any gold for pretty much any reason. The difference, of course, is that when Zeus gets his experience, he gives you damage, and when Phoenix gets his experience, he gives you damage, but he also gives you team fight. He also gives you healing. He just gives you so many more diverse things that you can work with, and the enemy teams have to worry about. That Zeus just in this role always feels kind of flat. We've seen games where this Zeus is able to play very hands-off, able to get quite a bit of experience, and is able to play as if he was in that mid lane from minute zero, but that is not guaranteed. Far, far, far from it, in fact. So we'll see how well the Zeus is able to do right now. iG.Vitality, they're actually grouped up, potentially looking for a fight. July is here. got the time walk and maybe try to bait them in. Fran's gonna start charging in with that Blade Fury at the ready. Cask gonna be thrown just yet. But everyone else from iG.Vitality will secure this bounty rune, and I guess that'll be kind of nice for Nature's Prophet. He gets his up towards in the top river area.
Yeah, so we'll take towards this mid lane and a little bit of that role swap as Fran. Formerly on the Death Prophet will pick up the Jugger, so always nice to see the versatility between the players here for iG.V's side. But we'll see how this Zeus fares. Currently, Super is gonna combo up with In July in the off lane, and I mean we talked about the potency of the Juggernaut Witch Doctor lane, so it's not really detrimental to the Juggernaut's ability to farm to send the Zeus down here. But I don't know that this is really the scariest lane. Yeah, a Zeus faceless void.
The Zeus has 2 clarities and a bunch of mangoes, so yeah, mana is definitely going to be not an issue, at least for right now for Super, but he immediately loses his entire mana pool just trying to spam out this Gyrocopter. Actually, harassing the Gyrocopter is very easy. Killing him with this duo of heroes is so much more difficult, so I'm pretty sure this Gyrocopter is kind of okay with taking these level 1 Arc Lightnings constantly. Super limited amount of mana. His clarity is actually going to get canceled by either the wave or the flat cannon. But either way, it is not there anymore. So Zeus is almost done in this lane. Like, he's going to need to leave or get more mana regen or something.
Just more mangoes, man. Just more mangoes. It's always the solution.
Health regen and mana regen, insane value.
SEC seems to be doing well in mid lane. He's already used up his charges on the Spirit Siphon by sitting him a little bit low here, and definitely do want to assert your dominance early as this Death Prophet in lane. If you allow the Invoker to get some levels up, he can then definitely put some punishment in with the Cold Snap plus the Forward Spirit. So Van gonna get jumped forward on bot lane, and he should be okay here. Mango gonna be popped up, but just the level 1 Arc Lightning coming out from Super, and he will expend the Mango. As you mentioned, he's out of clarities at this point, so one Arc Lightning, 2 Arc Lightnings at the most, and I'll have to continue to pop up the next Mango. So Fawn should get a lot more ballsy in this lane momentarily. Top lane, Le, he's been forced out by dogfights, and 2 Le is sitting on level 3 as the Prophet, so not doing all that bad. His laning counterparts in the Zeus and the Void looking to find level 3 soon, and I guess Super able to rotate out to the Bounty Rune, so that's going to be nice for him in his support role. But wrap mid lane potentially. Haste Rune up on Le.
Maybe 5 seconds for a Siphon, and then they can make it its play. It's not super easy, but it is going to make Yuno's life very difficult. Maybe force a base trip or kill this Courier, which is coming in. I think they saw the Night Stalker, though.
Yeah, unfortunately, the Haste Rune not timing up perfectly with the Siphon cooldown, as you mentioned, and I'm unable to make that dive. Pretty much when the Siphon came off cooldown, all the units had died under the tower, so it would have been risky for the Night Stalker to make that move, and definitely would have been a dive that would have been maybe slightly difficult against Dogfights, who does have the TP top lane.
It's like this can have a very early passive start to this game. Death Prophet Invoker trading rather evenly. Zeus is going to use all his mana, then suicide himself to Roshan. Still, I'm not really sure what the goal is here for Zeus. This is why I like offlane Zeus. With a Void especially, so the splitting experience isn't really the most effective. I think it should be about time for Super to take to the jungle and play that kind of pseudo-jungling, pulling, stacking type role, but no, he's actually going to head back down to this bottom lane. At this point, the Gyrocopter has the Magic Stick, and Arc Lightning spam up against Magic Stick is not exactly ideal going up against the Gyrocopter. Does Venge have hers? No, not quite, but there's very little upside here for the Zeus, and they're restricting the experience gain of this Faceless Void.
Yeah, and I mean, the Void Chronosphere isn't nearly as powerful without the Thunder God's Wrath behind it, so perhaps that's some of the logic there, but I gotta agree with you. I mean, he opts for the point in the Lightning Bolt here, and it doesn't necessarily give him any kill potential. I feel like that second point in the Arc Lightning and get over to the jungle is probably much more. Yeah, the Bash was there, and wow, they actually get the kill with the Bolt. He had used his Time Walk, and I figured with the Rocket Barrage, maybe that backs In July off, but meanwhile in the mid lane, they dive deep, and they will find the Invoker. Dogfight's in a little bit of trouble now, even with the Voodoo Restoration. They're going to dive deep for this, it being nighttime, and one more right click from Too Late. We'll find the kill. The Bolt's going to be here from Super, though. So Too Late with the Phase Boost trying to run away. He'll get the Tango off. And
Jukes
should be able to get home. Night Stalker for Le. will deny himself up to the neutral. So overall in that mid lane, nice for Newbee.Y. They do lose their gyro in the meantime, so I suppose support Zeus to some extent working out. And in July is going to be level 5 soon, so gonna hit that coveted level 6 mark where he'll pick up his chronosphere in due time.
And logical fallacy much, dude? Come on. There's a 10% chance that they get that
I'm just trying
kill.
to play devil's advocate.
I think they... I don't think they got more than one bash there from in July,
yeah,
but
just the one, yeah.
No bash means no kill. Happened to work out well for them that time, but far from guaranteed in the future. I'm not going to change my position because of a bash on a gyrocopter. It's not going to happen.
Boots now. Yeah, you know, just trying to stay unbiased here, stay impartial to the Zeus pick, but yeah, definitely, regardless, feels like they were pigeonholed into it. MMR, he's going to find himself in front of in July, and in July he'll just drop down an Observer Ward directly on top of the Radiant one and look to secure this 6-minute rune either way. Doing a little bit of farming on too late in the jungle, and they've given some space over in the off lane to Lei, who's picked up level 4 and is halfway through this first nighttime. So that one rotation to the mid lane seems like it's going to be all she wrote for this Night Stalker, but he's going to soak up a nice full wave here top lane. Going to find his darkness relatively soon.
I love it when teams rotate out heroes who can jungle into the jungle, just getting these other heroes who maybe can't jungle as well into that lane and gonna get a little bit of extra experience. Just small plays like that, not gonna hurt the Nature's Prophet all that much. I mean, he's still doing very well, in fact, on top of the net worth chart for his team. And then, you know, Night Stalker can maybe look to recover, get his upgraded boots, get that level 5, get a little bit closer to that ultimate, a little more effective uptime for him. It is really a win-win across the board when you make that type of play. But Newbee.Y, they are just waiting for this Death Prophet to get a little bit more experience, I feel. Once you get that Exorcism, together with the maxed out Nature's Call and the fact that Gyrocopter does have his call down right now, that will be about the time when Newbee.Y are going to look to force some objectives of iG.Vitality. But for IG, they will, I mean, they obviously do have the Omnislash right now, but they should have for sure the Chronosphere by that time. So they will be ready to make those defenses. And if the Night Stalker is not going to find someone else beforehand, then a Chronosphere may just stop a push cold.
Lei picks up his Tranquils, as you mentioned, top lane, and he's going to rotate around mid. They're going to look through the jungle, and they could find Yuno here. Dogfights, they caught a glimpse of him mid lane, but perhaps that's not their target just yet. It is an Exord Invoker for Yuno, so no Ghost Walk going to be able to keep him safe, but good game sense from the Invoker at this moment. Able to back out. They don't see a gyro in lane, and Night Stalker as well. Be missing off the map, but you know they're gonna find him. The Void, the call down will connect at least one missile, and the Rocket Barrage will give them more than enough damage. Wrath of Nature comes through for good measure as well, as there's definite potential for TPs in, and sub 8 minutes into the game, you know, will take a spill over behind his tier 2. They'll get the mid tier 1 as well for their troubles, so very nice couple of minutes here for Newbee.Y side. The first rotation from the Gyrocopter, we always talk about this being very important as to the momentum of a team, and it's going to be a successful one for Fawn.
For the Death Prophet, gets the tower without having to expend that Exorcism, so they can pretty easily make a rotation elsewhere and use Exorcism to grab yet another tower there. Fawn is with an Invis rune, actually. I don't think he could solo kill Yuno. Definitely needs a little bit of help if he's going to get this, but Nature's Prophet is always available for that. Yuno hugging his Forge Spirit real tight, so yeah, they're not gonna let that happen. I don't think the Invis rune was actually spotted by anything from iG.Vitality, but either way, they're all gonna keep themselves safe. In fact, start to apply a little bit more pressure up towards this top lane. Chronosphere and Omnislash will pretty much kill whoever is going to be foolish enough to try to stop this. So let's see what Newbee.Y can get in the meantime while their top lane is being pushed. Like two Leis on this bottom lane, starting to shove it just a little bit there. Well, maybe look to tower trade. They shouldn't really be able to get that much damage done, though.
Yeah, without the Death Prophet there in time, they're not going to get all that much out of this tower. But either way, Newbee.Y still sitting in a pretty position at this point in the game. Friend, probably their only worry, as Thunder God's Wrath, it's still off the board. Super is just about to hit that level 6 mark, 10 minutes into the game. And now the Chronosphere gets a little bit more threatening, but they have yet to use it thus far. In July, though, bot lane's to level 6. Ready to drop a chrono, and Fawn and Too Late in position to be hit by it.
swap
Behind them, though, yeah, is that Vengeful Spirit. And jump forward, Chrono. Going to be an easy swap out if need be for MRR. And will be dropped. The Sunstrike will be there. They'll perhaps sacrifice the Vengeful Spirit, but not the kill you're looking for that Chronosphere. Big cooldown early on in the game, and will be off the table for the next couple of minutes, and maybe that even opens the door with the Exorcism up for SCC and crew to jump forward for more.
Not even a courtesy call down there from Bond. He's going to get Omni Slash, but it's not actually going to do that much as it jumps over to the Night Stalker. Super tanky there. Takes a Bolt and a Thunder God's Wrath. Cask bouncing through, stunning up Tule, and they'll take down the Nature's Prophet, but the Death Prophet's going to come in with Siphon and Exorcism already at the ready. He'll go onto the Witch Doctor, kill him, then the Juggernaut get a double. Look for a triple super, does only have one spellcast available. He'll try to teleport out, but the Exorcism and the Siphon doing way too much damage. Oh baby, a triple kill for the Death Prophet. It looked decent for iG.Vitality, especially since they took that fight with no Chronosphere and after a rather poor Omni Slash, but Death Prophet, man. Death Prophet coming in like a bullet and assassinating 3 heroes in the blink of an eye.
Yep, with the haste rune as well. So Death Prophet alone gets 2 of those kills for sure. The third one with the Zeus probably not going to net that, but either way, bit of fortune for SE and good recognition as well from Newbee overall. They know the Chronosphere is down, as we just alluded to, and they're able to just utilize that Exorcism for a couple of key kills. And they will bring down the Juggernaut in the bot lane, so kind of able to mitigate what they lose in the Gyrocopter going down. And yeah, Death Prophet going to get a nice influx of gold. There, we'll be able to probably pick up a set of drums off the back of it. Yeah, it has the full drums on the courier, as well as the cloak in base. So just going to ramp it up and get that second level of Exorcism here shortly. Fawn is a little bit under leveled though with all this rotating on his Gyrocopter. He's currently sitting on level 7, which is a couple levels behind the rest of the cores in the game.
Gyrocopter may get a little bit of time to recover, should get enough gold to kind of counterbalance that experience deficit if they're able to continuously take these towers. And it seems like Newbee.Y gearing up with drums on all the Prophets. Sure, as aggressive as it can really be, another nighttime phase is going to fall, and it seems like for sure this top lane tier 1 is going to be a casualty. iG.Vitality going to look to trade for the bottom tier 1, but Newbee.Y, they're pretty much all in this first 20 minutes. They're not going to lose if they don't, take racks or something like that, because they can still get very far ahead, but they are looking for a decisive lead come that 20-25 minute mark.
Yeah, certainly so, and considering the state of the Gyrocopter relative to the Juggernaut, certainly, I mean, IGV would be happy to go into the later game, just as a Newbee.Y were up against a similar lineup in game 1, so they're not going to find all that much here in the way of trades. Friend playing very defensively, no one showing in any of these lanes, and we're pretty much just going to lose that safe lane tier 1 in the meantime. Has backed off with his crew for now, but he'll walk back in with the Forge Spirits, and they'll look to defend mid lane as well as take this safe lane tier 1 bottom. Alacrity popped onto the Forge Spirits, and now the flank coming through. Injuly has the Chronosphere available. They've got a Death Ward as well. Jump forward. They're going to find it. They chrono up the Vengeful Spirit as well as Fawn. They'll bring down the Gyrocopter. No swap available. SCC, he's got the Exorcism off. The Siphon is there onto Friend. He needs to be able to get away from this, but he will spin and make it back to safety. And now that's an Exorcism off the table for Newbee.Y, so it seems to pretty much end in just this loss of the Gyrocopter. They'll get a little bit of damage done on this tier 2, but Exorcism expiring here momentarily. Chrono and Thunder God's Wrath off the table though, so Newbee.Y feel like they can at least pressure into this tower. They'll force back in July with a Void, and now should be looking to back off here sometime soon. IGV will rotate over the full squad, and Newbee.Y will think better of it, not having their Gyro nearby. And Vaughn, he's died for the 3rd time in this one, yet to find himself a kill, sitting on level 8. It's a concerning position for their safe lane farmer to be in.
I want to say that was a blind Chronosphere, then they just, Chronosphere for efficiency happened to catch the Vengeful Spirit there. Right. If you aimed it a little bit more to the north, he otherwise would have caught the Death Prophet, which may have been a little bit worse for the Newbee.Y side, so perhaps they should be counting their blessings right now. But Chronosphere, man, the Vengeful Spirit, her goal is to make sure that does not happen, but clipped on the tail end of that, and I guess they do get a little bit of damage up from this top tier 2, so the Exorcism isn't necessarily completely wasted, but iG.Vitality jumping in with the Chrono, getting a decisive fight. And stopping Newbee.Y from pushing again is what we saw in the last game, and they're going to find SC. Juggernaut not able to get close enough, quickly enough, but yeah, stopping the pushes from Newbee.Y means that they have to wait for another exorcism. This cooldown is super, super long. Even when you get an Octarine, it's pretty darn long, so this is a lot of space for iG.Vitality to get ahead on some of these heroes. If they can somehow get Faceless Void up to just a handful of additional items, they'll be in a really good spot. Like, if you look at the Zeus right now, the space that they're getting is going to be pretty big for him, because these level 7, which isn't terrible, but a couple of extra points in static field can definitely make a big difference in these fights.
Do the means justify the ends if the Zeus ends up working out? But nah, I'm just doing that. Either way, it almost feels like that the Radiant side need an Aegis against this Chronosphere. They need a second life on one of these key targets, and you mentioned the long cooldown on the Exorcism. It feels like they need to use that in order to bring Roche down. So if they opt to do that with this Exorcism cooldown, it's further going to set their timings back, further allow iG.V to continue farming and finding up some of these items. Fran gets a little bit further ahead of the Gyrocopter, and they get maybe that second level of the Chronosphere. So Newbee.Y do seem to be a little bit stuck between a rock and a hard place at this point. It needs to be seen what they opt to do with this. In July, gonna backtrack some of that Crypt Swarm damage, and he's gonna take the last hit on this mid tier 1. And Newbee not having a positioning tool like the Chronosphere for their Death Prophet has proved to be, I mean, the only time we saw the Exorcism do tons of work was when she had a haste rune. They have little chase potential aside from something like that on the Death Prophet.
Smoke up. We've also seen kind of a low impact Nature's Prophet game. Both Prophets having a little bit of difficulty getting in and actually staying alive. In that bottom lane fight that you're talking about, Nature's Prophet got on the receiving end of an unlucky cask bounce. So yeah, unable to really show off what he can do with those split pushes. Something that Newbee.Y may kind of be forced to fall back on in the future. Thunder God's Wrath is going to be thrown out, a purely scouting one. So iG.Vitality, they are going to fall back right now. But for Newbee.Y, Exorcism for Roche, usually it's going to be just fine because you get the experience, you get the golds. They may feel a little bit pressured though, just going up against an Omnislash and a Death Ward and a Faceless Void Chronosphere. Even with the Exorcism up, they're not comfortable committing to that Aegis.
Yeah, and just having iG.V scouted out, and I mean, they don't have the Thunder God's Wrath any longer, but they still have a Chronosphere around the pit, and that is always scary, especially in tandem with a Death Ward. This Witch Doctor perhaps a tad under leveled, but regardless, I mean, Death Ward plus the Chronosphere is just not too easy to fight into around that area. And yeah, Newbee kind of feel like they're a little bit confused at this point with what their next move is, and iG.V have done a good job of, to this point, splitting up the map and farming, slowing down the game, taking the engagements when they have the Chronosphere, and have that little bit of perhaps luck as you touch upon mid lane, and just efficiency with hitting the gyro on the periphery of that Chronosphere really has set this game in their favor. 6-5, 18 minutes in, but feels like it is much more iG.Vitality's game than that score would indicate.
Gyrocopter should be about where the Juggernaut is right now, but because he's just unable to catch a prey, he just doesn't have the farm necessary to really back that up. Night Stalker, however, does have Aghanim Scepter on the way, and that together with the amount of jump they have, just with mostly Crippling Fear in the Night Stalker in and of himself, will be able to maybe make another significant aggressive push towards the iG.Vitality base if the Night Stalker is actually able to complete that up in a reasonable time, and if they maybe don't lose heroes in the process, because they're looking at this Death Prophet, have Chronosphere level 2 plus a level 1 Death Ward. Sure if that's quite enough damage with it. Thunder God's Wrath, Chronosphere will land. Death Ward now going to be channeled up. Sunstrike is there as well, and SC's not going to have any help. Swamped out at the last second. Death Prophet will get out of there, and well, Vengeful Spirit maybe not. Will get killed off, but SC just tanking up to make it out.
Yeah, the drums, the cloak as well helping, but actually I guess the cloak didn't really help. Pure damage, physical damage, so not sure that really, I guess against the Thunder God's Wrath, sure. So that may be just enough, the value cloak there to help her out. They do have an Orchid now on Tulay, and I feel like with Xiao Tulay's maybe silencing up either a Zeus or a Void, they could potentially take a fight. It definitely is their window at this point with the Chronosphere on the sidelines, so remains to be seen whether they opt for Roche or to take a fight, but I feel like they need to do one or the other, because the Time is just ticking away for this Radiant lineup, and they have yet to really hit their stride. They picked up the second level of call down, though. Their Death Prophet is where she needs to be, and they will opt to smoke up a bot lane. If they lose Lei here, this could just thwart their plans entirely. They get the second bash up onto the third bash as well up onto Lei, but these heroes are just not strong enough. They jump forward with the Orchid. The Sprout will be there as well, but the blink in time for In-July keeps him safe. Dogfights will not be as lucky, but still they get the less significant target. This may open up the window for Roshan, however, and Newbee.Y definitely wisely so, taking the fight to iG.V at this point. He really had no other option.
Will be popped here. There's no Omni Slash, there is no Chronosphere. They can scout it out, and they will do just that. But how do they know about it? What can they actually do about it? In-July does have a Blink Dagger and a Time Walk. First one to get in, second one to get out. Observer Ward can be placed in. He's going to jump right in, dilate some time, and that's about it. So yeah, that'll show them. Roshan will be claimed by Fawn, though he is kind of low. Fran's going to walk into a silence. He's going to purge it off, but still not going to survive that. That's, yeah, I guess Diffusal Blade is good, but not always that good. Very nice Chronosphere for In-July. Where's the follow-up? Meteor onto 4 heroes. Sunstrike is there as well. Instant double kill for as Lei gets shoved up to the high ground. SC is going to siphon his way. Maybe to Freedom. Death Ward, though, deployed for the high ground. Will kill off the Night Stalker. Also trigger off the Aegis from the Gyrocopter. Now he's forced to just book it. SC in the meantime silencing and running for all he's worth as Bond. He's going to try to play Ring Around the Rosie here with the Zeus. Rocket Barrage doing a little bit with level 3 Voodoo Restoration, keeping everyone pretty darn healthy. They will catch up and kill off the Death Prophet, as Van will also do the same to the Zeus, but now he's all alone. Versus 3 heroes, good luck, Gyrocopter. Rocket Barrage is good, but not sure if it's this good. He's going to try to go for July and Dogfights first, but now that the stuns come out with the Cold Snap, he's also going to take a fall. iG.Vitality make that fight happen, even after kind of suiciding their Juggernaut.
Yeah, I mean, unmitigated disaster for Newbee.Y. They not only use the Exorcism cooldown and therefore can't fight for the next minute, but they lose the Aegis as well. So there is nothing going for them at this point in the game. They, as we've mentioned before, they cannot bust high ground into a Chronosphere without a second life. And I mean, it's going to be at least 8 minutes until the next Aegis comes up. And even when that happens, they'll have to use the Exorcism to take it because they're just not the greatest Roshan lineup without it. And at that point, they'll have to wait for another cooldown to look to go high ground. And there's still 3 outer tier towers, 1 in each lane, standing for the Dire side. So that fight, I mean, Newbee.Y losing that fight, not to sound anticlimactic, is almost the nail in the coffin for their lineup.
To be fair, that was a 4-man Chronosphere, so iG.Vitality definitely putting the work in order to actually claim that victory. A Chronosphere which looked like it was going to have very little follow-up, but they were actually in the Chronosphere, but also all lined up perfectly for an Invoker combo, so it doesn't get much better than that. In-July has another Chronosphere now with Dogfight, still only a level 1 Death Ward. I know it sucks because Witch Doctor is getting a little bit more experience because level 2 Death Ward is quite the upgrade, so they will not get a chance there, but meantime, we have the fresh Aghanim Scepter for the Night Stalker. This is going to give Newbee.Y a pretty large surge in power if they're able to find just a handful of heroes, if they're able to pave the road for Nature's Prophet to teleport in. For instance, they see Dogfights. They're going to look at a couple of kills right now, and Dogfights is definitely not going to see this one coming. He sees very little, and suddenly he's silenced and panicking.
In-July was nearby with a Blink Chronosphere, but had he landed it on all 3 heroes, it would have landed on the Witch Doctor as well, so there would have been no Death Ward to contribute, and wisely he'll back off and just cut their losses. Level 9 Witch Doctor dropping at this point is a consolation prize for Newbee, but doesn't really give them all that much. He'll be up because he's level 9 in 15 seconds, and of course Roche on the sidelines. They won't be able to get anything out of this, but the Night Stalker, having the Ags is always going to be great for them, and if they can join it up with a gem, will be really nice. But especially against the Faceless Void trying to initiate against them, it still feels like Newbee though are pretty heavily on the back foot.
It is going to be difficult for them to completely play around this Faceless Void. Blink Dagger and Time Walk is a lot of effective initiation range. There is now a level 2 Vengeful Spirit swap with an Ether Lens, so the effective range of this, pretty much level 3 in that regard, is going to be pretty nice at making sure that the Gyrocopter, the Death Prophet stay out of that Chronosphere, but for right now, It's the Night Stalker who is in daytime. He's gonna get jumped. Solo Chronosphere. It's like a pretty dead Night Stalker as they drop absolutely everything. Sunstrike, Death Ward. He's gonna take a fall, but yeah, no tower is really pushable here for iG.Vitality. So it's a nice kill for sure, but it's doesn't look like it's gonna get them a ton. And if it does get them anything, it's going to be at a trade.
Does it really need to, though? I mean, I feel like just slowing down the game, delaying it out, continuing to farm up on I mean, he hasn't even contributed himself to the smoke. He's got Boots of Travel, almost a BKB on top of his Aghanims. They're farming on Fran as well, who's got the Diffusal Blade up and is working towards his Manta style. And Newbee.Y just aren't all that scary in the late game. The Prophet has seemed to be a little bit lackluster in his impact, as you mentioned. He will get pretty scary in terms of a split push presence, but in terms of the team fight, not all that worrisome. Fawn has been underwhelming as well, and he's got the BKB now, but he doesn't do all that much damage against the iG.Vitality lineup. So I feel like that kill, I mean, although it's not the ideal target, it is okay for iG.V, and it just continues to drag out this game, which is essentially what they want to do against the Radiant lineup.
We're definitely seeing game one kind of repeat itself here. Dire side with the more patient draft, Radiant side with the more urgency, and Radiant's both times not running into just a couple of issues here. I do think that Newbee.Y can, bring this together if they just manage the Chronosphere once in just one fight. Then they could definitely claim a victory there, especially since Death Prophet is approaching that level 16 mark. She should have something on the Courier. Yeah, that's actually quite a bit. So that's a Soul Booster, and someone just got an Ultimate Orb. That's going to be for the Gyrocopter. So a little bit of extra bulk here on the Newbee.Y side. They definitely can take these fights still, but so far they've pretty much always been initiated upon. It's always been the Faceless Void, and now it's going to be the Invoker on Lei. Purge up. There's going to be a rock dropping on him as well. He's stuck in his own cage. Everyone's going to teleport in. They're going to lift up the Invoker. SC is going to deploy the Exorcism and Friends in the middle of this fight, but he's going to Omni Slash, dodge a lot of this damage. At the same time, threading SC. Swap out is going to keep him alive. They will take down the Juggernaut and the Witch Doctor. They're going to walk right into Sunstrike, or at least MR will. He's not going to die to that, though. TP out from there is no Void in time. Looks like the Invoker will survive, but it's a 2-for-1 trade. But perhaps more importantly than that, Exorcism is pulled out. So for iG.Vitality, their base is once again safe for another 2 minutes.
Yeah, and I mean, Newbee get a good fight, but yeah, as you mentioned, the Exorcism on the sideline, they don't lose the Invoker. It just doesn't feel like they're getting nearly enough in these engagements. You can call that a team fight win, but you can't call... I mean, the battle is not going to translate into a win in the war, and Newbee, they won't be able to get a Roche anytime soon, which is potentially spawning in a minute with their Exorcism online for a minute and a half. Offline, I should say, for a minute and a half. There is really no trade in sight from those couple of kills. With his fresh BKB, feeling safe enough to split push here this deep in the map. Has the Boots of Travel get out as well, and they don't have much to cancel this if he, as long as he doesn't see this Vengeful Spirit nearby. So he'll put a little pressure into the tower and brings us down pretty quickly with the Alacrity. He'll use a Zoning Tornado EMP, and that'll secure the kill on this tier 2. And his comrades will now join him up in the bottom lane. Lei, he's just not quick enough in the split push department just yet to be able to find a trade, and will join up in the top lane and just nuke down this wave easily with a meatball.
Lei is getting there. He's got the Maelstrom, is gonna most likely build this Ultimate Orb into a Sheepstick, I want to say. So if he is going to find that one hero like Invoker trying to push it back push back with a push, then he will be able to jump in. Thunder God's Wrath, the scout. He's gonna see where everyone is. Unfortunately for iG.Vitality, not in a position to actually jump on any of these targets. So Thunder God's Wrath, we'll keep everyone safe for sure, but unable to use the damage aspect of it. We are in another nighttime phase right now. Night Stalker does have the gem. So for Newbee.Y, do they have a smoke? They do. This is going to be a pretty important smoke attempt for them, because if they are able to gain a win here, and it's a lot easier because they do have the Aghanim Scepter and gem, then they could look to once again go on the aggressive, which is something they haven't done for 15 minutes-ish.
Yeah, only been kind of reactionary play from them. And Vaughn, he's approaching this Eye of Scotty at some point, but not near it, and not nearly close enough just yet. MRR. Gonna try and find something here, but we'll just get up a little bit of vision, and iG.V more than content to play at this pace. They complete up the Manta now on Fran, and they'll be clumped up here playing a little bit safe. They know the Roshan is going to be spawning soon, so definitely don't want to lose any of their key heroes at this moment, because they know that Newbee.Y's kind of only way to potentially breach high ground and finally utilize the strength of their lineup is to find themselves an extra life so that the Chronosphere isn't nearly as intimidating. And the Aghanims will be up sometime soon for in July though, so that Chronosphere will be on the much shorter cooldown.
And Newbee.Y, they're all like about 1,000 gold away from a really big item. I assume this is going to be a Scotty for the Gyrocopter. Manta style, not too terrible either, but either way, he's just short, and the Death Prophet just short of getting what I assume to be an Octarine core out of this Soul Booster. The Nature's Prophet got 1,700, and he's not going to have anything on top of that either. So for Newbee.Y, they would love to make an aggressive play right now, because sitting on Exorcism is never really what you want to be doing. You always want to be using it if you have it available, but you're so close to such big items. Like, you gotta just wait just a little bit longer. Bon is going to grab his Eye of Scotty, it seems, at least. They're going to hope that the Roshan isn't going to quite respawn in time. They see it. In fact, everyone sees it. But unfortunately, the Treants died, then July jumps in. Kind of sucky there for the Nature's Prophet, although he will get more scouting intel, so he will know that iG.Vitality are, in fact, in the Roach Pit. But I don't think Newbee.Y can... I don't think he should try to contest this right now, even with the vision advantage they have.
And I mean, their high ground defense is very respectable, but iG.V don't even need to take this and go high ground. They can just take the Aegis and delay the game out further for the next 5 minutes. SCC, though, he's going to pop the Exorcism, gets a silence off on 2, but will get the BKB off. The Yules, it's going to dodge up most of that Omnislash, but he'll just come down and die for it. Sprout is going to catch Super, and he's orchid it up too late. Right-clicking him from the high ground. The call down finishes off the Zeus Strand, though. He's trying to bring down the Fawn Gyrocopter, who will walk into the Chronosphere, and now will be right-click down. Swap will not save him. MRR going to be purged up, brought down. Leg going to be the last one. Triple kill for the Juggernaut. And if that isn't GG, I don't know what else is. I mean, they definitely still do have some great high ground defense, but no Aegis in their hands. Fran doesn't even drop it. They only lose a support Zeus in that fight. 4 heroes on the deck. Only one of them to have buyback. They get a tower top lane with too late, but it's not as if he has a Necrobook or a Desolator, so iG.V are not all that concerned with this, and they have their Zeus respawning in 10 seconds to deal with it regardless.
All the time that they were sitting back and waiting to make that play ultimately got them 0 relevant items, actually 0 items, not to mention the fact that no items at all, let alone relevant items. So it is going to be a clean set of Raxes here for the iG.Vitality side. Newbee.Y are going to stay in it, try to lean on this Nature's Prophet just a little bit more. That initiation, if we could even call it that, from the Death Prophet, not really sure what that was. She was a little bit too far ahead of the rest of her squad. They started that fight off with getting Death Prophet tornadoed, even though she was invisible because of the smoke. And I mean, as soon as iG.Vitality get that Aegis, you probably back off from there and you try to lean on your high ground defense. Maybe you hope that your Vengeful Spirit is able to make an initiation happen, because she does have level 2 swap still with that Aetherland, so it doesn't really seem like that has been used at all from this Venge so far. Rax lead for iG.Vitality is pretty substantial. It's not to say that Newbee.Y can't handle it. They have Nature's Prophet, they have Gyrocopter, they have Death Prophet. Great heroes at dealing with that lane of super creeps, but iG.Vitality, they still have the Aegis, and that's the really worrying part. They can keep on playing aggressively and constantly force the Death Prophet to use Exorcism in these base defenses, which is the worst possible place to use it as a Death Prophet.
Because even if you win the fight, you're not going to translate that into anything, and they can just rinse and repeat, come back down your mid lane or whichever lane they choose and look to fight once again when you do not have your essential damage opponent. So iG.V, strong foothold into this one. And something I didn't mention in that fight in the live call was that I believe Fran was able to purge off the Yule Scepter on the Death Prophet, and even though she gets the Yules off during the Omnislash, she was completely isolated. So as soon as that is purged off, she just drops. And yeah, the initiation, as you mentioned, subpar, but I guess Newbee.Y just felt desperate. If they knew if they lost that Aegis, that the game was just going to be at the very least delayed out even more, and they would have a very rough time finding something. They're going to get the darkness off mid lane, and they'll orchid up an illusion And now they will run into a world of hurt here. Thunder God's Wrath is going to scout out the back lines, and they won't expend the chrono just yet. They'll be patient with it. Omni Slash will come through. Fawn's going to drop here as well. So Vengeful Spirit even going down amidst the Omni Slash. 3 on deck, 1 with buyback, and all just a matter of honor at this point. No, but Newbee will tap out and call it GG, and understandably so. iG.V going to square this series up 1-1.
Oh, Vengeful Spirit misclicked. I was wondering what happened there. Her job is supposed to be get the gyrocopter out of the chronosphere, but she accidentally clicked on the Faceless Void. So the Faceless Void ended up outside the chronosphere, but since he has like, you know, a million movement speed when he's in the bubble, he just runs back in and starts beating down. And then you have gyrocopter and Vengeful Spirit stuck in that bubble. So not to say that that would have salvaged the fight, but yeah, Newbee.Y unable to get enough aggression off, and it's again pretty much game 1 take 2. It takes iG.Vitality a little bit more time to actually get the win, but
yeah,
a victory is a victory. It doesn't matter how long it takes.
Yeah, and only 9 minutes more, so it's not as if they had to take it ultra late. And definitely that timing on that last Roshan was just very smart from them. And overall in the game, just taking good enough trades. I mean, their Faceless Void ends up 1-0-16, not a single death on in July, just soaking up his levels despite being not gaining solo experience. And they kill Fawn enough in the early game. 6 deaths on the gyros, the most on his team, and you're never going to be able to compete with a Juggernaut who's farming well when you die that often. So game 2, you're going to go the way of iG.V, and the series will be squared up. Guys, we'll be back with game 3 H Cup Season 5 on Beyond the Summit momentarily.